Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done, including one full workout clip for you guys. Go check that out if you want to see me do a little bit of training for the people who say, do you even lift, bro? Probably lift twice what you do, so go check it out. But now it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skill at my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And you know, I'm just going to be honest at this point with this whole Rich Piana situation, which is the biggest piece of news in the community right now. I don't have a good feeling about it. I'll get to that in a minute, and the reason I say that. But the other thing I wanted to point out, some people were like, oh my God, Jason, you got some of the facts of his personal life wrong. And it's like, well, sorry guys, I don't keep up with every single person in the community. I apologize if I didn't realize he had moved to Florida. The last video I watched about his personal life by Rich, he was in California still. I had no clue he moved to Florida. I think it's kind of, you know what, it's kind of weird how much people keep up with the personal lives of YouTubers, but it is what it is. So he moved to Florida. That is an important factor for some of this, potentially. Some people are like, well, you got his girlfriend's name wrong. His ex-wife, his first wife's name was Chantel, and his girlfriend's name is Chanel. I've never met anyone named Chanel before. Okay. Interesting name. I've known several Chantels. I know a Chantel right now. I don't know any Chanels. So that's cool. So that's his girlfriend's name is Chanel, not Chantel. I'm getting his ex and his current girlfriend confused again. Rich has got a lot of exes, guys. It's kind of hard to keep up with them. And I actually have no clue who this Chanel is. I don't think I've seen any videos with her. Maybe not. But the fact of the matter is, I was going off what information was available. So here's the thing. I did look into it as far as legal implications. And guys, I honestly don't think the legal implications are going to matter, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I looked into the Florida laws. Good Samaritan laws mean because the police found the substance, which has now been identified as cocaine. He was doing cocaine, apparently. It was identified as cocaine. Because it was 911 called because of a medical emergency related to him, and it was reported as an overdose on his part. There is no legal action. He can't be prosecuted for possession of a substance that he overdosed on. In fact, normal possession, it's actually questionable if police could even charge him with possession of any drugs that they found in the immediate vicinity in the case of a medical overdose in which first responders were called in an emergency. So that is the Good Samaritan laws, and those are in place apparently to keep people from dying when they overdose, so that people will call the police so that people don't die because they're scared of getting arrested, because that's how people are. They'll let somebody die rather than go to jail. You know, that's reality, and that cuts down on that. So it helps save lives, and that's reasonable. That makes sense. It is there to save lives. But the Florida law states that only possession cannot be charged. And the law clearly states other crimes that are not the direct possession of a controlled substance that are found to be there in this situation. Because you guys got to remember, you don't need a warrant when the police have been called inside. When there's an emergency situation in which police are called inside and they incidentally find other illegal stuff going on, that is admissible in court. They found very, very large quantities of anabolics. Now, I'm not a lawyer. But I do know from just doing a little bit of basic research that the quantities that he has on hand, 20 bottles, and a lot of people are like, well, how do you know that wasn't ampules? Because Rich Piana is not an ampule guy. He's a multi-dose type of guy. Anyone who looks at his stacks, looks at what he uses, knows there's no way those are ampules. Okay? That's not what Rich Piana uses in his self-admitted stacks. He uses multi-dose, high concentration stuff. So 20 multi-dose bottles would be easily considered to be distribution amount. So he probably wouldn't be charged with possession if they chose to do something, but they could, depending on how much of a dick the DA feels like being. There might be the possibility of them charging him with felony intent to distribute. That's not possession. That is a different crime. Therefore, it may not fall under the Good Samaritan. Now, could a good lawyer probably fight that pretty well? Probably could. Again, that's really tricky. So when people say, well, this is how it'll work, well, that's kind of hard to say, guys. Kind of hard to say because we don't know what the police are doing with it. We don't know what a DA is doing with it. We don't know what sort of defense attorney he'd be able to get. Now, I'm going to assume Rich makes enough money he could hire a pretty damn good defense attorney, and I think that's fair. So even if they charge him with that, is it possible he could get found innocent? Possible he gets something really lenient on a plea bargain? Yeah, it's very possible. But we don't know. The thing is, I truthfully don't think that's what's going to happen, and the reason for it, there have been nothing by the police. The police haven't said anything, any statements about arresting him. We don't have any official updates. And what I mean by that, we need to stop and think this through for a moment. How did this situation transpire according to all available information? The information the media is releasing, the information police are releasing, information his girlfriend's releasing. He overdosed, and the medical reports are showing that he overdosed. Okay, he passed out because of drugs. He hit his head. Now the head, blow to the head was serious. It was serious. He did hit his head. Chanel attempted to catch him, stop him from hitting the ground, and he hit his head, I guess, on the countertop going down, and it was pretty bad. So much so that she called 911. Now, we don't know how much of the unconscious was drugs. We don't know how much of it was the head injury. None of us have access to that information. We do know that the 911 tried to tell her to perform CPR. She tried to resuscitate him. She was unsuccessful. He was still flatlined pretty much when EMS arrived. They identified very quickly the drug that he on the counter, realized there was a drug involved, and they gave him a substance that they give during overdoses. They weren't able to resuscitate him immediately. I don't know how long he was out. He was obviously gotten to the hospital. He was put into a medically induced coma. The problem is, we don't know how long she tried to resuscitate him. We don't know how long he was down. All this talk about he's okay and he's doing well and he's responsive and talking, I think that could be hearsay. That could be people involved with certain companies who might have products involved. They might have their own stance on it. Could be wishful thinking. The fact of the matter is, we have no official reports of him being conscious. Nothing substantiated. It's been a week. It was last Monday. It's been over a week now since he went unconscious. If he's been in a medically induced coma for a week and they haven't brought him out, you guys think on that for a moment. He was flatlined for a little while. We don't know how long. I get the opinion that if Rich was conscious and able to use a phone or anything else, he would be demanding a phone. Rich would be putting something up on social media, let the world know he's alive, that he's okay. Because he hasn't. Because he hasn't put any official word out through his channels, meaning 5% Nutrition doesn't count. That's a company. They don't have access to him directly. They're not his family. His other personal friends, they don't have access to that ICU. That's immediate family. I don't know that his girlfriend has access to the ICU. I mean, legally speaking, it's his family can be in there. His power of attorney can be in there. We've heard nothing from Rich to let us know that he is in fact even conscious. I hate to predict stuff like this. If I had to go off my gut instinct, the silence itself speaks volumes, because even this 5% Nutrition made a statement 4 days ago. We've had literally no information. For at least 4 or 5 days, we've had no new information from any substantiated source. That says something. And when I say it says something, meaning it creates cause for concern. That either Rich is either still in the coma, or if he's out of the coma, he may not be fully in control of his faculties. Either way, that's pretty bad. I get the impression that if Rich has survived, he is not going to be the same anymore. You guys have to think about that. You have to consider that possibility, depending on how many minutes he was down. It matters a lot as far as retaining your mental faculties, your thought process, your intellect, your speech. All of those things. Those things start slipping away with every minute that you're out. All right, anything past 5 minutes, if you're kept at room temperature, there's no cooling, nothing going on, in which your heart is not beating, there is serious damage that starts setting in at that point, and oftentimes irreversible damage. 10 minutes, very, very, very rare for a person to come back from that. It's very rare. It happens, but it's rare. Again, we don't know how long she tried to resuscitate him. We don't know how successful she was. We don't have any info there. Again, people need to accept that possibility. And that's the thing. You know, I can't personally imagine Rich, and maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, coming unconscious a few days ago and not getting to some device to say, hey guys, I'm alive. I'm not doing well, but I'm alive. God damn it. You know, that's what I would expect to happen. Because none of that's happened, he hasn't reached out in any way. I get the impression he may not physically be able to for one reason or another. So again, that's a bad sign, and we just have to accept that possibility. If that's the case, then legal situations don't matter, because if he has suffered any sort of serious mental trauma, loss of faculties in any way as a result of this, they're obviously not going to charge him with anything related to distribution of drugs or anything else. He's pretty much going to be off the hook, because he's not going to be competent to stand trial or any of that. He's not going to have those sort of problems in that case. And I kind of thinking that's probably the case. I could be wrong. I admit I could be wrong, and it is just speculation on my part. But that's honestly what I think. That's just my gut instinct at this point. That's my gut instinct. And my gut instinct is sometimes wrong, but it's usually not. Not on stuff like this. So it just is what it is. But, you know, I wish him the best. And I actually hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong. And if I am, hey, that'll be fantastic. Alright, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.